Hey everyone, John here from Big Dreams Travel and joined here with Lisa. And we're going to discuss Lisa's recent trip to Disney World. She went during December of 2020. That's right in the middle of that coronavirus pandemic that's happening. And this is going to be our second episode. In this one, we are going to discuss the first visit that Lisa took her family to Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. Lisa, I'm ready to hear about this one.
Oh my goodness. It was so much fun.
Awesome.
It was incredible.
Awesome. And Lisa has older kids, and so it's
Yep.
it's exciting to hear how they enjoyed this first visit to something completely new at Disney World. So stay
Yes.
tuned and hear about Star Wars Galaxy's Edge and everything else that's going on right now at Hollywood Studios. Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Make sure you like the video and hit subscribe down below. And if you like all of our travel content, we'll keep talking about our trips and the different things that we do. Today, we're going to visit with Lisa about her family's recent trip to Disney World. Lisa went in December, right in the middle of this COVID situation that we have going. But in this episode, we really want to just spend some time talking about what's going on at Hollywood Studios. And of course, you took your family to Galaxy's Edge for the first
Absolutely.
time. I think you have some kids that were really looking forward to that and have probably been
Yep.
looking forward to getting there. And then we had this pandemic that shut everything down. And so you finally made that happen. So
We did.
um, we're going to talk a lot about Star Wars, I'm sure. But, kind of first off, just to kind of take this in chronological order, you guys were staying at Art of Animation. We've already
Yes.
had an episode where we talk all about your Art of Animation stay.
Right?
Want to talk about, and you said when we did that episode, you guys made the decision to take a bus to Hollywood Studios instead of the new Skyliner. Talk to
Yes.
us a little bit about the arrival procedure
Okay.
at Hollywood Studios, and then if you're a person on a Skyliner resort, why did you choose a bus when that was available to you?
All right. So we chose a bus because so the opening time right now, or in December, for Hollywood Studios was 10 a.m.
Okay.
And there had been rumors that the parks were, or that park was opening a little bit earlier,
Mhm.
and that you could get in by about 9 o'clock. And so um, it was kind of different every day. There was no set time, and some days it might not happen. But
Right.
we decided we wanted to try, our fortune and see if we could get there an hour early and get in and get started on riding rides. And so the Skyliner doesn't open, it doesn't start running until an hour before the parks open.
Okay.
And so that wouldn't have given us enough time. And then because of the popularity of the Skyliner and the popularity of Hollywood Studios, sometimes those lines in the morning when you're going first thing for rope drop can get a little jam packed.
Hmm.
And some agents that I know have talked about, it's taken them an hour or 2 hours to get from Art of Animation and Pop Century to Hollywood Studios, and so they missed the whole early morning.
Sure.
So we opted for the bus, and the bus actually started. It picked us up at 9, but we were there by 9:15. I mean, it was so fast.
Okay.
We got in line at 8 o'clock, and so we waited an hour, but we wanted to be on that first bus. So once you arrive, whether you're coming by bus or Skyliner, they have some white tents set up in front of the the turnstiles. And so in the white tents, they have cast members. Well, they're not cast members, but they're healthcare workers
Mhm.
who take your temperature. And it's very smooth. There's never really long lines. I mean, there's like maybe one or two people, but it's like they zap you and you walk on through. It's super easy. And from there, then you walk through security. So there's no back check right now. They're using the metal detectors. And so I got buzzed every time I walked in because I was carrying everyone's portable batteries in my bag. So when you go, don't carry more than one portable battery. Going through with one battery is fine, but when you have 4 and 5, you get buzzed, and then they have to go through your bag. So by the third day, we figured out the reason I was getting buzzed is because I had everyone's batteries.
Right.
So Anyway, on the last day, everyone carried their own battery and we got through with no problem.
Good.
So, but it is nice not to have to stand in that super long bag check line if you're a person who has a bag, which I try not to take a bag, but I can't help it.
And Lisa, correct me if I'm wrong, but umbrellas have to come out. They mention that to you,
Yes.
and like larger electronics. Is that what I've heard? Is that correct?
Right. Umbrellas do have to come out, and I can't remember the other thing, but it may be a larger electronic.
I was
But for
thinking like
sure umbrellas, and
Sure.
they've got people out with the headset mics on telling you if you're carrying an umbrella, please make sure you pull it out
Okay.
of your bag.
Okay.
So they'll remind you of what can or cannot be in your bag as you're walking up to the turnstile. So
you caught the bus and you were able to, and you said 9 o'clock was the opening time, right?
well, 10
Or
o'clock
10,
was.
10 o'clock. Okay. And
And the
said you were
bus
there by 9.
made the first pickup at 9.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay.
And really we were through the turnstile by 9:20.
Okay. So they had them
It
open
was fast.
basically from the start, which makes sense during COVID. They're not wanting the crowds to form
Right.
even at the turnstiles. And so that's why
Right.
they're doing that. I've seen, Lisa, if you're arriving by car, I've seen them, they're not seeming to open the parking lot as early as they had
No.
been in the past.
Right.
Probably for that reason. They would rather people be waiting in their car with
Yeah.
just their party than people,
Right.
waiting at the turnstiles. So
Right.
that's a little bit about the opening procedure there. So obviously at Hollywood Studios right now, Lisa, there's a lot of new stuff. I still think of, even though it's been a couple of years with COVID, the Toy Story Land stuff is still very new.
Yeah.
Of course, we've gotten Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. We got Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway.
Right.
There's all sorts of new stuff at Hollywood Studios. I know there for a while it seemed like there wasn't very much to do at Hollywood Studios because
Right.
it was all closed.
Yeah.
But we've now got all this stuff open to us. What is kind of your strategy? What did you find was the best for you guys? Because of course the big ticket ride is Rise of the Resistance at Star
Right.
Wars. We'll talk
Right.
about that in a second. But that's a ride you have to have a boarding pass on your app
Right.
for. Other than that ride, what did you guys find was maybe what worked or what didn't work in entering the park that morning?
Well, since we were able to get in early, we were walking. We decided to go hit Rock and Roller Coaster.
Okay.
And as we walked by, we were surprised at the fact that Trolley Car Cafe did not have a line. So we hopped in for a Starbucks drink
Okay.
and then booked it over to Rock and Roller Coaster.
Okay.
So, like you said, my kids are older. They're all about
Sure.
the thrill rides. And so we were able to do Rock and Roller Coaster and Tower of Terror before 10 o'clock. So actually we did Rock and Roller Coaster twice. We got off and went straight back on.
And that was before what is official park
The official
opening
opening time.
to the announced
So-
park opening.
Yeah, and it was totally great. It was so great. And we were boarding pass 3, and we'll talk
Okay.
about that in a minute, I know.
Sure.
But then we went straight over and got in line for Rise of the Resistance.
Okay.
If I hadn't had my children there, I probably would have gone on over to Mickey and Minnie's
Sure.
Runaway Railroad. We never made it there because they didn't want to. And the line was still pretty long. It was an hour pretty much solid all day long. And so we never did make it over there. If I had littles with me, we probably would have headed straight to Mickey and Minnie. But since I had my olders and that's, what they wanted to do, we headed straight over there.
And Lisa, do you remember while you were there, even though you didn't do it, Mickey and Minnie, I know for a while they weren't seating hardly anybody on those ride cars and the lines
Right.
were very, very long. I know they've added a bunch of plexiglass to those
They have.
cars now. And it seems as though I think they're seating basically every row now.
Yes.
With the
Yeah.
plexiglass.
With the
Was that the case?
plexiglass.
Was that already installed when you were
Yes.
there? Okay.
I think they had just done that.
Maybe just done it. Okay.
Because
And
they
so
did it to Rise of the Resistance as well.
perfect.
Yeah.
And so obviously when people go into this park, they've got the option like you guys did, if they're more thrill ride seekers.
Right.
They're going to go down to Rock and Roller Coaster and Tower of Terror. You've certainly got Slinky Dog Dash, which is going to build a
Yes.
line. Although the line on that one seems to move fairly quickly, I think those cars are set apart far enough
Right.
that I think they're still seating every row on Slinky
Yes.
Dog.
Yeah.
And so that would be a place to go though if you've got the youngers.
Right.
And of course, Mickey and Minnie is the new ride, and so you've got all of those options to go to. sounds like to me what you're saying, Mickey and Minnie Runaway Railway may build the biggest line the quickest right now.
Yes.
Just it's newer and it's probably the slowest loader
Right.
of all
For
those
sure.
rides.
Right. Yep.
So over in Galaxy's Edge, of course, and
Mhm.
I failed to mention when I did that, you've also got Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run
Right.
in Galaxy's Edge, which can build a line as well, although I
Yes.
don't think it's building quite as much a one as the
Right.
railway.
No.
So let's pause for a minute and go back to it would probably be about 6:55 in the morning. What did you? I'm sure you had a wake up call
Yes.
at 7 o'clock that morning
Right.
to get on your Disney app. How did that go for you guys?
Well, it went really well. I was so nervous. I was so nervous because the main reason for this trip were to take my older sons so they could experience Galaxy's Edge together as brothers, without girlfriends or females, we wanted one more time just for them to be together to experience it.
Mhm.
And I was so nervous. I was so nervous. I probably woke up 15 times, in the night, just checking
Mhm.
my alarm. Um, but that morning when I woke up, and I have these, and I don't know, when you book your trip with us, we'll give you step by step instructions on how, to increase your chances of
Right.
getting a boarding pass. And so I woke up about 6:30 and I tested my internet speeds. Um, Usually when I'm at Disney, I do better using my carrier's data than I do Disney Wi-Fi.
Mhm.
But this time I could get no service in the bottom floor of that Cars building. I mean, it was so slow. And so when I tested my internet speed on the Disney Wi-Fi, it was twice as fast.
Okay.
So I opted to use the Disney Wi-Fi. And usually in the past it's like, don't use Disney Wi-Fi, it's too
Right.
slow. But for us at this point where we were, it was twice as fast as my carrier. And so
So that's a good tip is to get up and check your internet speeds and make sure. I know
yes,
I've heard of some people at some resorts. I think the person I'm thinking of was at Pop Century, which of course that one's exterior doors. You
right,
didn't have that at your resort. That's
right.
interior hallways, but they had to walk. They walked outside, and
Yes,
their cell service was a better signal.
right.
It's going to vary greatly, probably based on what hotel and what
Yes.
location. So it's
And
a good
that's
thing.
why I encourage my clients is like, if you walk to the lobby, go outside, check your room, wherever you want to make your attempt. You just have to test those speeds and see where,
Sure.
and also the newer model of your phone. If you have a newer model compared to, like, say, an iPhone, for example, mine is a 10X or a 10X Max or whatever it is. Anyway, it's about 2 years old.
Uh-huh.
We opted to use mine just because we just decided to use mine. My daughter has a newer phone, but we didn't use hers. My boys have like eights, so we didn't want to use theirs. We just decided to go with the newer model.
Uh-huh.
I don't know if there's any truth to that. That's just kind of a rumor we hear floating
Uh-huh.
through the world. Um, so the newer phones, maybe with a faster, you know, working inside, maybe, I don't
Yeah.
know. So
And so again, people that are there, if you are anywhere on resort property, you can get that boarding pass at 7 o'clock.
right,
If and you do have to have a Parks Pass reservation for Hollywood
yes.
Studios that day,
Right. And so
which
you don't have to, like, before the corona closure, you would have to be inside the park and you'd have to select everyone in your travel party. So
right.
you would have to, if we were inside the park, I would have to go through and, and I have a lot of people on my friends
Hmm.
and family list because I travel with friends and other travel agents. And so
Uh-huh.
my list of people is really long. And so I either have to kick all those people off or I'd have to go through and I'd have to find, who's on my travel party. But now, if you have a park pass, they automatically pull whoever's in your group that has a park pass gets pulled onto that boarding pass. So
Okay.
that took an extra step out of that whole process, which I was really thankful
Yeah,
for.
I've heard a lot of people saying that was a great change
Yeah,
that Disney made that much easier for people
right.
to just make that system at least a little easier to use because everybody's so stressed out with that process.
Yes.
People really
Yeah.
want that. And so if you're on property and have a Parks Pass at 7 a.m.,
Mhm.
if you miss that, or if you're an offsite guest, They now open up another window of boarding groups based on availability and assuming the
Right.
ride is running as it should. At 1 o'clock, is that correct, Lisa?
It's at 2.
2 o'clock now.
Uh-huh.
And I know they've changed that time around. And so it's 2 o'clock. They open up a different window. And that would be if you're not a Disney resort guest and you do have to be in the park
Right.
for that window, I believe. So,
Right.
so getting that Rise of the Resistance fast pass, or I'm sorry, not fast pass, boarding pass
Right.
is the only way you get on that ride. So,
Right.
Lisa, I want to avoid spoilers here because I haven't been and ridden it yet. We've tried to go about 3 times, and we all know what's going on, and so we're going to go this summer. But just in general terms, what did your kids and your family think of Rise of the Resistance?
Well, of course, they were blown away. I was lucky. I wrote it in February, right before everything shut down, and so I got to write it a second time, and it was just as incredible as it was the first time.
Mhm.
And it's really so hard to put into words. It's such an incredible experience. I mean, from the moment you walk in the queue to the minute you get off the ride, and it took them over 5 years to build it, and it's 3 stories. It's massive,
Mhm.
and it's just incredible.
Yep,
It's
I
really amazing.
can't wait. And it's one of those things. I don't know that I've heard a negative review of that ride from anybody.
No, there can't
Even
be.
even like Flight of Passage in Animal Kingdom is an incredible ride. But there are every now and then you hear of somebody who doesn't like it, or they don't like
Right.
the ride system, or
Right.
and haven't heard that from not one person
Yep.
about Rise.
Yep.
The other ride there in Galaxy's Edge is Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run, and it's
Yes.
kind of you become the pilot or the engineer,
Right.
or you perform some different roles
Mhm.
as you're in the ride, and it actually does impact the ride,
Right.
what you're doing. And so actually a perfect ride for you guys with 6 of you,
Yes.
except you guys had to play paper, rock, scissors, or
They did. They
whatever
kind of fought over who was going to be the pilot,
to
but
determine who the pilot was. But
that was expected.
how
So,
how did they enjoy that one? And how long did you what was your wait time on
well,
that one?
our wait time was about 45 minutes, so
Okay.
it wasn't terrible. But I will tell you that the line, because of social distancing, the line was wrapped all through Galaxy's Edge, all the way back to the entrance of Toy Story Land. That's where we got in line.
Okay.
Now, that was just our luck, because the rest of the day, that line was like half that long. So we just picked the longest time of the day to get in line, because I kept looking, and the rest of the day we were there in Galaxy's Edge, there was the line was half that. But again, it was only 45 minutes. It was not a big deal, and the line moves pretty quickly, and it just feels long because of all that space between everyone.
Uh-huh.
But it was incredible as usual, and it actually broke down on us, and we thought it was because my husband took his mask off because he pulled his mask down, and so we thought they were going to kick us off because
Uh-huh.
they tell you to keep your mask on. And my kids were like, "Keep your mask on, Dad," but he pulled it down, and so we were all afraid that we were going to get kicked off the ride, but we didn't get kicked off. It did break, and so they gave us basically a fast pass.
Okay.
They offered either a fast pass to come back later in the day or to get right back on. We chose to get right back on.
Okay.
And this time my husband kept his mask on the whole time, and we did not break down. So I don't know if that's coincidence or not, but
Okay.
But it was so much fun.
Okay. So kids enjoy it. Seems like a ride that kids
Yes,
would certainly enjoy.
it was great. And they were yelling at us because my husband and I were, well, I was a gunner, he was the engineer, and they were yelling at us the whole time. I mean, they took this very seriously.
That's
So, um,
it's
anyway,
great memory on that ride, I'm sure.
it's great.
And as you said that you mentioned Fast Pass, and so just to right now, the Fast Pass lines are functional, but only for situations like you've had,
Right.
for the disability
Yes,
access service,
yeah. Mhm.
and for rider swap.
Right, and
so-
VIP tours.
and VIP tours, which are still going on. So there is no bookable Fast Pass on your app as there was before COVID. We still don't know the future of that,
Yep.
or when it will be back, or if it will be back, or what's going to happen there. But right now, there is none of that. So those are kind of the two major rides there in Galaxy's Edge. What else did you guys experience there? Shopping, food. Um, did you try the milk or anything like that? What
Well,
else did you do there in Galaxy's Edge?
we did not ever grab our blue milk. I had it back in February, but we never did make it over to a blue milk stand. We had reservations at Oga's, so we stopped by there for a bubbly, fizzy little drink, and that was a lot of fun. Your time is limited in Oga's, and basically they serve various drinks, alcoholic and non-alcoholic, and then they have like some snacks, like a charcuterie board. But we popped in for some fizzy drinks, and there it was really fun and cute, and we took some pictures, and
And
it
that
was
is
a pretty neat experience.
you do make an advanced reservation for that.
Yes, you need a reservation. And here's the deal: we had a 10:30 reservation for Oga's, and we didn't want to do it that early in the morning, but that's what was available. But then we had our Rise of the Resistance. We got boarding group 3, and so that was going to overlap. And so basically, we got off the ride and we went straight to Oga's, and we said we had a 10:30 reservation, but we were on Rise of the Resistance. Can we still come in? And so basically, they just put us back in like a waiting list. And we had to wait like another 20 minutes. But they will work you in if you happen to draw a boarding group around the same time that you have that reservation. They'll work you in, and so it was great, and they were really kind, and we had a lot of fun in Oga's.
Okay. Anything else Galaxy's Edge wise that you guys you really enjoyed? Or
the boys went to Savi's workshop and made lightsabers.
Okay.
And that was probably one of the most spectacular Disney experience I have ever had. And I didn't even make it. It was so amazing to watch my sons participate in this. It is nothing at all what I expected. It's an experience, again, as Disney would have it. It's not just go in and pick out a thing and make a toy. They set the scene, they build the atmosphere. I'm telling you, at the end of this, when he was given his final charge and he was telling you that you were called for such a time as this, and there is no one on this planet that can do what you can do, I told my husband, I was like, I was getting goosebumps. I couldn't believe it. But it was pretty incredible.
Cool.
And it was worth every penny. And I will tell you, my grown adult sons play with these lightsabers all the time. And I'm so glad they have them. And I would definitely recommend this to anyone. And what was so funny, I'll be super fast, but so we're in this area. They're the 3 oldest of everyone in the room. All these other boys are younger. And it took mine the longest to build theirs. And these kids are like putting their lightsabers together. My oldest sons, especially my very oldest, the dude came up to him and said, "Hey, you're not married to it. If you decide you don't like it, we can swap it out later." But he's like, "This is the biggest decision of my life right now. You don't understand." And so my little Star Wars nerds were very, very particular. It was a major decision. It was no just popping things together.
Right.
And so it was pretty funny.
Awesome.
But it really, really was awesome. And I would absolutely recommend that experience.
It sounds like one of those memorable Disney experiences, kind of like the Bippity Boppity Boutique.
Right. It was incredible. It really was.
For kind of that next age of certainly Star Wars fans.
Yes. And then when we came home, so you have to carry it on the plane. You've got to carry it as a carry-on. So our flight attendant, he's in his 50s, easy. He looks at my son and he goes, "Is that a lightsaber?" And he's like, "Yeah." He's like, "Do you mind if I look at it?" And so he pulled it out of the sheath and everything, and he was showing it to him. He's like, "Can I hold it?" The power of these things over grown men, it's incredible. And so this flight attendant was just in awe that he got to hold this lightsaber. And he's like, "I can't wait to go build my own." So, yeah.
we'll talk
Yeah,
about something else. That's certainly something else they will never forget there. So,
ever.
um,
So
so kind of coming to a close here. We've talked a lot about Star Wars and Galaxy's Edge and those things. Anything else in Hollywood studios stand out? Did you get them? Did you get them back to Toy Story
we
land
did. We
and do some
love
of that
Toy
stuff?
Story Land. We did Slinky Dog Dash. It was fantastic. And Toy Story Mania, of course, that's one of our family's favorites. We're
Sure.
super competitive. So, of course, we have to do the competition games. And the Pop Tarts from Woody's Lunchbox is one of my favorite snacks. They're so yummy. We didn't do the swirling saucers, but we love Slinky Dog. And Slinky Dog broke. We broke 3 rides while we were there. We have never been. We broke Space Mountain, Slinky, and Rise of the Millennium Falcon. So that was kind of frustrating that we broke Slinky because he broke right at this part where they spring you loose, right midway through the ride. And so it wasn't as springy, and they didn't let us ride it again. But so we loved it. We all loved Slinky Dog, and they missed the launch bay. Because they're such nerdy Star Wars boys, they really miss the launch bay and looking at all the artifacts and the treasures and things like that. So hoping that'll open again soon someday. But it was a great day.
Awesome.
And then we went back and we got to ride Tower of Terror one more time.
Okay.
Before we left.
Well, awesome. So and I think all of the ride times, there are some, things seem to be pretty stable. Just because it seems like every day there's about the same amount of people in each park with the capacity restrictions and the parks passes. You're not ever going to get any super short lines, but you're kind of looking at, that 20 to 30 minute range for a lot of those.
Not bad at all.
And so that's kind of what we're seeing, as a trend right now. The lines are going to look a lot longer. I thought about this earlier when you were talking about Millennium Falcon, the Smuggler's Run. The lines are going to look a lot longer than they really are just because of the 6 feet apart. Or Disney's really gone more than 6 feet in some areas just because of, how the lines turn and all those kind of things. So that's just something to keep in mind. Well, Lysa, that was awesome hearing about Galaxy's Edge and your family's first time there. That's going to do it for this one. We're going to be back with one more episode, kind of talking about Lysa's family's experience at the other parks that they experienced on their trip. And so we'll see you next time. Come back and watch that one. Have a great day, everyone. Keep dreaming of future travels. We'll see you next time.
Bye.